All right, yesterday I did a basic synth patch, but to me, the coolest thing about modular synth stuff is when you just don't really have a plan and just see what happens. So I'm going to do that today and come up with something weird. And I think the best place to start with something weird is this thing right here, the Wogglebug. Everything this thing does is random. So it's 3 outputs of randomly generated audio. And then down here are 3 randomly generated CV outputs. I'll explain what that means later. And this is a clock, and then this is like a randomly generated trigger. I'll explain what all that means when we get to it. But let's start with audio. Excuse me. This noise you're hearing is the audio coming out of the Wogglebug. As you can hear, very random. Not even necessarily anything close to pleasant to listen to or musical. Let's check out the other 2 random audio outputs on here. Let's see this one. Sounds about the same. How about this one? That one sounds... I can't explain why, but that one sounds cooler, so I'm gonna keep that. Now, still with the Wogglebug, let's woggle it up. We're gonna take this output that says woggle. Now, this is a CV input, and what that means is control voltage. So this is putting out random voltages that I'm going to use to control the filter on this thing, on the filter. Still not really like usable musically, but we'll get there. Let's use this burst output. Now, so this is a randomly generated trigger. If you were making a basic synth patch like we did yesterday, you would use the sequencer to send a trigger. But since I want this to be as weird as possible, I'm going to use this random trigger output. Now I'm going to use that to create an envelope to control the amplifier. This envelope is the voltage controlling the amplifier. That's kind of cool. Let me see if I can slow it down a bit. All right, well, that's pretty weird. With maths, we can come up with a much more complex envelope, though. So let's see what we can do over here. Ooh, now we're getting weird. I can't even really... I could explain what's happening here. Man, it's going to be really long and boring. Let's see how fast I can do this. Trigger going into maths. Maths outputting the envelope. Sending the envelope to another channel that creates an LFO, and then the LFO is just doing all kinds of weird stuff. How's that? Does that make sense? Of course not. Now let's mess with the filter. This thing is weird. It's got a wave folder and a rectifier, and one of these days I'm gonna look up what those words mean. All I know is you flip this switch and it kicks 50% more ass. Ooh. Like, where'd that bass come from? I don't know. You couldn't imagine that sound and then figure out how to make it. I guess you could, but it's so much more fun to just F around and find out, Okay, now this also has the rectifier switch. I also can't explain what that does, but... Okay, what if the trigger was a little less random? It's like a motorcycle. I bet this would sound cool with like a reverb on it. I was right. It sounds cool. Well, I'll tell you what. I did my best to explain what was happening while it was happening, but I'll never build this same patch again. Not because I wouldn't want to, just because I'll never remember that. But it's neat. I think I've made my point. This thing is bananas. Till next time.